My name is Sean Rose, Deputy Director at Islamic Networks Group, ING, and today is Monday, the 16th of November 2015. On Friday, we were following the news coming from Paris in France of the terrible and tragic attacks in multiple parts of the city, causing devastation, fear, and loss of life. On Friday, we spoke with two members of the ING network who shared their thoughts, their reflections, and of course their condolences. And today, to continue reflecting and continue this conversation, I'm joined again by Amina Jandali, founding member of ING, and Marsha Beauchamp, affiliate director at ING, to tell us about specifically ways that educators can address the issues brought up by Friday's attacks and can look after the needs of all of their students and their school culture at this difficult time. Amina Jandali.
Thank you, Sean. Once again, we really want to convey our deep shock and outrage by the violence in Paris on Friday, which was particularly egregious because it occurred at the end of the week when people were out enjoying a lovely evening at the theater, eating dinner, or a soccer game. And to disrupt this in the horrific way that occurred impacted obviously the entire city and nation, but also the world. So we want to begin by just expressing our deepest condolences to the families, to all those impacted by these horrific events, and our hope that this will quickly end in Paris and in the world. What is particularly egregious about this is the random nature of it, that really the only reason for doing such acts is to strike fear, foment chaos, and create insecurity in the lives of regular people going about their business. And these actions truly reflect an allegiance to anarchy and violence rather to any goal or grievance. It is additionally the ultimate injustice to target and kill innocent people who have absolutely nothing to do with any political issue or any of the issues that the perpetrators might be trying to highlight. And all religions, ethical and moral systems condemn such random violence and killing, including Islam, which holds the killing of innocent people to be the highest sin one can commit against another person. We affirm and reiterate the absolute sanctity of all human life, the taking of which is among the gravest of sins. And if it is the purpose of these perpetrators to create chaos, enmity, and anti-Muslim sentiment, we believe that they will fail. And we have witnessed multiple acts of cooperation, love, and support being displayed by Parisians and by people around the world. We pray for an end to this by a quick apprehension to the perpetrators and for peace returning to Paris, to France, and to the world.
Thank you. Marsha Beauchamp.
Thank you for those words, Amina. I want to underscore that we stand in solidarity today with France and the world against these unconscionable acts of violence, as Amina said. But I want to underscore that we also stand together as Americans, especially when it comes to public education. By standing together, we reject the forces of fear, suspicion, and hatred that threaten to divide even people of goodwill. It is never more important than in moments like these that we live our commitment to unity as one people out of many different ethnicities, cultures, and religions. In fact, in addition to academic skills, these are the values that our common schools were created to pass on to our youth. As the laboratory of democracy, our schools are intended to be. Guarding the well-being and inclusion of every student and every parent is crucial. It will be most important over the coming days to be vigilant and attentive to instances of bullying and name-calling and other negative behavior directed towards South Asian, Middle Eastern, and Muslim students in the aftermath of these attacks. In particular, girls wearing headscarves and boys wearing turbans may be especially targeted. It is also important to be aware of the potential impacts of these events on at-risk students, including those who may be struggling with depression and hopelessness. It is only by committing to a zero-tolerance policy for bullying and harassment that we can create the kinds of learning environments that will foster understanding and cohesion rather than reactivity and separation. These times are important opportunities to instill values of respect and civility that are a mark of who we are as Americans on our best days.
Thank you. Amina, do you have thoughts and suggestions on how educators can best lead productive conversations and discussions about what we saw in Paris last week?
So we know that teachers are going to be discussing these attacks in classrooms, are going to need to deal with the fears and anxieties of their students. And so we just wanted to emphasize a few things, particularly if you have these at-risk students in your classroom. But generally, it's important to obviously emphasize that these attacks can only be blamed on the people responsible for them. They cannot be used to paint an entire group in a negative light with a broad brush. And it's a good opportunity to talk about instances of similar negative events happening, whether it's here in the United States or worldwide, when it also casts an entire group in a negative light, and how we can, as human beings, avoid doing that. And part of that could be avoiding using language such as us versus them. It's important to remember that Muslims were also killed in the Paris attacks. In fact, one of the heroes of that attack was a Muslim security guard at the soccer stadium who prevented a suicide bomber from entering and blowing himself up. There have been also Muslim victims of this attack. So it cannot be an us and them situation. And we also need to remind people that ISIS has actually killed more Muslims than any other group. And just this past week, they attacked Beirut, Lebanon, and killed scores of people there as well. It's important also to promote American values of religious and cultural tolerance, which is the essence of our nation, and a respect for an inquisitiveness that is based on rationality and intellectual inquiry rather than uncritically accepting rumors, stereotypes, or what we hear again and again in the media. We also need to encourage our students to become educated citizens who are able to evaluate such events using their intellect and rationality rather than letting their emotion or fear, anger, or hatred determine their actions or beliefs. At the same time, obviously, it's important to emphasize that violence should never be the answer, and we need to think about ways that we can end the cycle of violence in our own lives in any way we can, beginning in the classroom, beginning in our circles of influence.
Thank you very much. ING has been educating about Islam and American Muslims for over 2 decades now. We have a huge amount of experience and resources which are available to educators here in California, where ING is based, and throughout the country where we have affiliated organizations, almost 20 organizations, using ING's material and content to educate about Islam and American Muslims in the context of American pluralism. We have a number of resources that might be of particular use to educators at this time, and at the end of this video you'll see links to many of those resources. We offer training to educators. We have online curriculum for the classroom that supplements education about Islam in the context of social studies and world history. That's for both middle and high schools. And at this point, we also have answers to frequently asked questions, including about ISIS, and a PowerPoint that explains the origins and tactics of ISIS. We also have speakers bureaus available here in California and in many parts of the country through those affiliated organizations. And where we don't have a speakers bureau, we can provide webinars to offer the same materials. If you'd like to find out more about any of those resources or what else ING can offer to educators and schools at this time, please contact us by emailing scheduler@ing.org. That's scheduler@ing.org. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for your important work.